Hey, appreciate being here. I think we have 25 minutes left, so I'm going to move a little faster than I'd like to. But let me, and to be honest, there's so much I could talk to you about that I was already a bit limited here in what I'm presenting. But let's move through it. I want to talk about market segmentation. If you understand how we're thinking about the market, you'll understand why we're doing what we're doing. And then I'm going to talk about 3 areas of investment for us in the second half of this year, in survey deployment, in heat maps to ensure best practices, and some new visibilities we have in mind for Wi-Fi networks. So, last year, a year ago, we really didn't know what we were going to do, right? We had AMM, it hadn't been touched. We got, engineering picked it up, started to create a roadmap for that. But really at the same time, let me get my pointer here. On the left, we felt like there was this vastly underserved market in troubleshooting and validation of Wi-Fi, right? So certainly there's the SI model, predictive planning and generating a massive report so you can get paid as a proof of installation. But just the number of people that needed to do Wi-Fi troubleshooting and validation, whether you're a private network owner, managed service provider, field service, or whatever. So we kind of started forming this view, in the latter half of last year, and then really as we started to work our way through it, we realized, hey, we can actually make both these worlds. These don't need to be 2 islands in our product line. We can not only have the Etherscope, but have the AirCheck as a collector. They can feed into Link Live. They can feed into AMM directly. There's even a very nice workflow where you can basically use Link Live, and if you need a little more gas, export it right over into your Survey Pro. So and we call that the ecosystem, and it's kind of how we pulled everything together. So so I want to talk about how we're kind of looking at deployment and workflow, right? So there's 4 distinct roles, in the survey lifecycle, if you will. So, you kind of got the RF engineer on the left, and then there's a remote walker or a remote survey taker. I tell you, the amount of frustration, pain that I think customers are having in this area of, I would love to do a survey. I just got a trouble ticket that the scanner guns weren't working in this part of the warehouse. What am I going to do? Am I going to hire somebody to come in and haul us stuff in? And so our goal is really to make it easy to create projects in Link Live, push them in, make it so that anybody can do it, and then make it easy to get the results back. That part we largely have dialed in, and then the sharing. So when it comes to the collector, what you'll see in the second half of this year is the ability to create right now you kind of have to import on the thumb right over here off USB. But the ability to create your project in Link Live and push it down into the collector. Our goal is that anybody could do a survey, right? Literally, the Walmart greeter could do a survey, and so that's our intent. We already have the handheld. You see in both Etherscope and AirCheck, you can rotate and gesture, and we have the ability to undo the last point or points. Incremental pushes. That means you can do the first 7 points and push it up, and then continue on, and your cloud, your RF engineer can sort of check intermediate results with no disruption in your workflow. And remote screen operation, what you'll see us add is the ability to push the projects down, so that literally if the AirCheck showed up on site or was already on site, that when you power it up, you'd go right into that intended project. Added instructions from the engineer, the ability to erase selective points, right? It's one thing to say, oh, undo the last few points, but you might realize an aisle later that you're on the wrong aisle and want to just do a group removal of that aisle and redo it. And then, of course, allowing the survey taker to add comments and pictures. So, what I got to call out here is, since we have in the Etherscope 2 radios, one can run as the connectivity radio, one can run as the surveying radio, and we have full remote operation, right? And so you can be watching the remote person doing the survey, or you could be guiding them, or you could just tell them to move to a place and click on it over here, right? It's a symmetrical operation, and it's just a great feature, right? there's times you might just park the product out there and leave it as a monitoring device, but the fact that you can interact with this remote person who maybe never even did this before, if they could just power it on and you can be guiding them through the process. So that's pretty nice. How do I get results? This is where we've innovated for years, right? Getting results out of testers into the cloud, add the comments, and we'll kind of cover off that space. How do I share the survey? This is where the cloud shines, right? And I listened to the MIST presentation yesterday, and and you can just hear them trying to say, look, when instead of having all this stuff scattered about in WLCs and things like that it's all in the cloud. The things that you can do when that happens are unprecedented, and we're kind of in the same space. And so, but specifically, platform independent, right? I can run it on Linux, Mac, whatever. I can even run it on. I can run it on my tablet here. You can see that, right? Pinch in, zoom, click on points, go over, look at analysis. Run it on your phone, right? We try to make the website very responsive. So the platform independence is huge. Single source of truth, right? You're not copying around a file. It's not sitting on C drives. It exists in Link Live. Nothing to install and upgrade. You don't have to install these massive on-device apps and then worry about, is it upgraded? Super significant for us is nothing to license, right? The reality is, if you buy the tester and you buy support, you're good to go there. And so and then multi-monitor, I'll talk about that a little bit more later. The main feature and capability you're going to see us add here is this sort of copy to organization, right? So you have your survey, it's in the cloud. You might want to share that survey with vendors or the site or network owners or peers, and we should allow you to do that. They literally just create a Link Live account, you plop it over there. We're even looking at using our filtering capability that I'll show you in a few minutes, that you could even pull things out, right? If you wanted to, hey neighboring shop, here's what I'm seeing from our shop, and you could remove other things that you wanted to. So being able to this kind of unencumbered collaboration is key in our mind here. So the goal in this section is for us to complete the workflow, right? That there's just seamless ability, create the project, push it down, comes up in the product, anybody can do the survey, comes back to you automatically, and then you can share it with anybody, and that all happens seamlessly. Best practices. So another goal of ours is to really provide tools that allow Wi-Fi professionals to verify best practices. If you look at something like WITS, right, they have a list of 10 best practices, and so our goal is basically have traceability between every best practice and a feature in our product line that supports validating that practice. So, of course, heat mapping is the tool, right? It's everywhere. COVID responses. I don't know if you remember the big kerfuffle a few years ago when Strava put up their global heat map, right? And suddenly military bases in the Far East were, not Far East, Mid East were showing up. And I even saw this, there's a heat map now in Google Photos of where your pictures have been taken, and you just click and they pop up. It's amazing. So heat mapping is the tool. Here's the lay of the land in Link Live, right? We just sort of keep building out capability, auto test results all the way back to Link Sprinter in 2014, unit asset management, every file you have, be it a capture, screen capture, report, our app store, right? Because on our Android devices, you can run vendor apps and deep analysis of wired and Wi-Fi networks, and then surveys new. Here you pick the type of heat map you want. Here's filtering. Here's the scale. You can click anywhere here or grade it. So here you see a heat map of it's actually called the Promenade Shops. It's a couple blocks from our office here, right? And it's just turned out to be a great little test ground for us. So there's my survey. Here's the walking area in the front here. So I want to talk about filtering, right? What happens when you click this button? Well, over the entire survey, we collect the superset of everything we see. So when I come into filtering initially, I'm going to see 156 SSIDs, 630 expressions of SSIDs on radios, right? 177 APs, everything that existed, right? And I blew these out here, and you can see them, right? So I can come in here and pick whatever I want to look at. I'll pick the promenade shops, for example. We put a filter chip up here. The minute we do that, we have what I call progressive filtering. This is the shopping cart model, right? I want shoes, and all the choices are there. All the colors. I want dress shoes, not athletic shoes. Pink isn't there as a color anymore, right? You whittle your way through the data, right? That's the only way you're going to work through the massive amount of data that's a part of a survey collection. So here I've filtered then on the promenade shops. This is the canopy Wi-Fi that they provide for customers. They don't care about it back here in the dumpsters, but they do in the walking area, storefronts. And so when I picked that, it immediately dropped to the subset of things that exist only for that SSID. So and here you can see immediately the power, right? I go to channels and holy mackerel, it's on channel 3 and 4, right? Well, that's interesting. So go in, pick channel 4, for example, and now you can see these filter chips are cascadable, right? This is an anding. So now we're looking at where's promenade shops show up on channel 4. So and then you can pull your scale up here, right? And get down to exactly where it is. Or you can click on any of these points. Anyway, you click on it, and then you immediately see all the details here at the bottom for that particular SSID, BSSID at that location. So it gives you a sense of just how easy it is to just stack up filters, adjust kind of the signal levels, the thresholds, if you will, and then go. What's also interesting is sometimes I started on promenade, that led me to channels. Then I might want to pivot and just look at channels. Okay, well, it's obviously bad that promenade's using channel 4, but what's happening elsewhere on channel 4? And in fact, can do that and see that, whoa, hold, actually, it's got some other use over here. Click on that, see the details. So once you've established any filter chips, any number of filter chips, then you can, of course, change the view, right? So if I want to, this is kind of a fun tongue-in-cheek. I'm on channel 4, and which is where the promenade shops are running. And well, if I go to adjacent channel interference, no doubt, right? I've got 21 APs because it's all the legit people running on 1 and 6 interfering with me. So and here you can see we start to introduce the threshold control. So I've set my threshold for ACI at 80 dB, and you can just fly over these with the mouse, right? And up will pop the data, and then you just click anywhere, and then you get to the table. So, and what I should say is you can stack these up at infinitum, right? And so if I wanted to figure out where the hidden SSIDs on channel 6 running B with open security, open or WEP, right? When you pick multiple filters within the same category, that's an ORing. And so now I can get down to just that. And so, and what's really cool about this is every time we add a new filter type. So last month we added security. This month we're adding a basic rate. So every time we do that, right, there's just an exponential, it's a 2 to the n sort of operation where you can it just opens up a whole new set of views. So let me see hidden that runs basic rate, 1 megabits. So just a ton of power in this filter model. So let's get back to our rules for a second. So rule number 2, only use channels 1, 6, and 11 in the 2.4 gig band. I come in and can immediately pick. I see that somewhere in the survey there's something on channel 4. Pick it, see where it is, click on it, and in fact it's not only the canopy Wi-Fi, but it's the nail salon. And in fact they are running a little Resi gateway, right? Resi AP. So very easy to validate something like rule 2. Rule number 5, let's cascade something here. come in. This says don't use bonded channels in the 2.4 gig band. It's bad enough at 20 megahertz. So you come in, pick band, 2.4 gig, there's my filter chip. Then immediately I can see, hey, there is something running 40 megahertz. Click on 40 megahertz, add that, boom, there it is. It's this S&M store. And in fact, you can see here's the channel width on it right there. So very easy to verify that rule. And in fact, if you were keeping score using something like the width scorecard, right, you could actually end up with an overall site grading if you care to deliver that. And maybe this is something we can automate over time. Let's talk about something new we're adding next month that you'll see in Link Live. And again, you don't have to download the new app, right? Just the next time you fire up the browser, it's there. Basic rates, right? Basic rates are just problematic, and so the rule is, get rid of the low basic rates. So here I've picked minimal basic rates, and this is a different survey. It's a partial survey because we, of course, when we do these things, first we have to add it to the collector, then we can do the work in Link Live. So I went back over after we added it in the collector and did a partial survey. Well, when we first did this, it was like, well, it's broken, right? Everything shows 1 megabit as the minimum basic rate, no matter where I am. So I had to come back, went back home, fired up my MIST AP, went in and manually set each basic rate, right? So at one point said, hey, do only do 1 megabit, and then I drop a point here, then I set it up. A lot of times when I'm doing work to verify our accuracy and goodness, I use kind of a grid here to just to make sure that things are right, and then I can manually manipulate the APs to see that the color scaling's proper, right? So we like, hey, it is working. It just turns out that there's 1 megabit everywhere. So I wanted to take a little deeper look at that. And of course, tightly related to basic rate is SSID overhead. So here's Andrew's overhead calculator, right? Great tool, but basically what it says is it doesn't take too many SSIDs or hidden SSIDs especially at lower rates, to just chew away into literally the entire channel bandwidth, right? And so this ties in with, rule number 8 from widths, limit the number of SSIDs per radio and justify the use of hidden SSIDs. So of course we can determine this, right? When we see the beacons, we know it's a beacon, we know who it came from, it's telling us its rate, we know its rate, we know how long the beacon is, and the reality is, if you have things running 1 megabit basic rates, also the AP is telling us, hey, I'm going to put this beacon out every 102 milliseconds, right? So basically you're consuming, 2 to 2.5%, 2.7% with this little longer beacon of your airtime is lost just on that one SSID from that one radio, right? It's crazy, right? So we added a new heat map. You'll get this next month. Beacon overhead, right? And so here I've picked beacon overhead on channel 1, and in fact, 25% of the bandwidth is lost over here by the Paneros. And I switched to channel 6. Wow, there's now suddenly we're over here, 24% lost in this area, and here's where the threshold controls comes in, right? You can see that threshold is basically saying which of this long list of BSSIDs do I want to not include in the calculation, right? And so if I set my threshold to minus 75 dB, you can see that my beacon overhead is 17% as opposed to everything we saw. But I decided to settle on minus 80 dB, still seeing 20% overhead on channel 6, and so I can click on that, go into our analysis table. Here I'm on channel 6. Holy cow, come in default sorted on signal. Look at all the hiddens. What's going on here? So now I'm going to go ahead and sort on APs, our AP grouping, and I can immediately see that here's one AP that's 4 different hidden SSIDs, and by the way, no unhidden expression. Here's an extreme, same thing. Here, this is in one location, right? Here's another extreme, same thing. And then here's a Pottery Barn, I think PB, kind of looks like a private inventory guy, and then point of sales, POS, yeah. All right, so and in fact, you can see, well, this one isn't so bad because at least he's beaconing at 12 megabits, right? But look at all these guys at 1 megabit. So that's where our 24% is coming from. Each one of these is chewing away 2.5% of the airtime. So, and one thing that's kind of cool for you power table users is when so now I'm going to come over and sort. Let me make sure I got all the things that I saw that I got. I'm going to sort on basic rate. Click here, sort on that. And you can see we've even paid attention to details like primary and secondary sorting, right? So the last thing you sorted on was AP. We try to maintain that within your sort, right? Those are just the little, corners we like to try to sand off. So, and then, so not only is 25% of my airtime at this particular spot lost to beacons, largely hidden, largely at 1 megabit rates, but what's going on here with these adjacent guys? So I'll click on that, and I immediately see that I'm not only fighting legit beacons on 6, but I'm fighting the Canopy Wi-Fi from the Promenade shops running on 4 and 8 on all these channels they shouldn't be. So you literally have the Canopy fighting with the retailers, and then the retailers just polluting the space. So, I think, I know you folks are living this, right? For me, this I was just like, the reality is, and I come more from the wireline. You could have bad practices in a wireline network. You could have a Class B network, right? You could not use subnetting, you could not use VLAN, whatever. The reality is this is a shared air, right? And so it's only as good as the people around you, unless you're on an island. And I think really the mission for NetAlly has to be to make surveys easy to do, easy to share, so that more people can do it, make it affordable, not intimidating, and that's the only way we're going to get this cleaned up. Because no matter how good you are, if you're only going to be as good as your neighbors, right? So it's a community. So off the soapbox, I should have popped up down. Let me say one last thing about filters. They're not just limited to Link Live, right? They've been on Etherscope all along and stackable. And so on the go, you don't have to do a survey. You're looking at a list of 600 BSS IDs. Just say, hey, I want channel 6 near me, be using WPA, not 2. And you can just stack those up and remove them and go through. We have all the device categories, including the new security category here, right, that we just mentioned. So last topic, visibility. So I actually wanted to have the Metcalf map here, right, from 1973 of a network map, right, because that was the original instance or notion of a network diagram, but this is an actual diagram taken by an Etherscope, because topology is the tool, right? And so we're doing topology, but unlike topology that we've done in the past, right? This used to be on the $30,000 OptiView. We're doing wired and Wi-Fi, so at the same time, and so here's the macro view, right? This actually happens to be up in a little mountain community I was in, and here's the network. You can just kind of get this view. Look at it. Here's an AP and clients, and you just kind of get this macro view of everything that was seen. I can then zoom in to my little area here, and I tell you, every time I run this, I'm like, wow. Because this is the reality, right? Here's the core switch coming into my gateway AP. Then I need a little desktop switch for doing my wireline work. So I run into my little Suffolk County switch here, which actually I had my Etherscope connected to that, and at the same time connected this AP. And then here's all the things that were also on my AP. If you remember last year, I told you a mission for us was to break the layer 2 ceiling, right? That we were not just going to show you MAC addresses for Wi-Fi clients especially. So you take the second radio, our connectivity radio, our one-by-one radio, you connect it to the SSID that you want to, of interest, and we are then actively discovering devices out there at the same time that the primary radio, the test radio, is scanning through the air. And so we're pulling out. So, last year I walked through this example how we took this, what's a Han High, and we literally said, hey, it's a brother printer. Here's all its names. Here's its IP address, and all that other information. Well, that now parlays into the survey. So when I'm looking at my little local network, I'm seeing the NetBIOS name, I'm seeing the assigned names, I'm seeing the IP addresses, right? And I can sort of, as you can imagine, you can pick your node types, right? So I happen to be doing name. Of course, you'll be able to pick IPv6 addresses, or v4 addresses. You'll be able to pick manufacturer prefixes, MAC addresses. So you can have controls over what you want to see displayed on the nodes. Of course, not leaving out you can click on any node and go to the details on that node, everything we know about it with our full discovery depth of dive from both the wired and wireline. Notice even the edges, right? You'll see immediately errors will be shown on edges, and devices will be red if there's problems or issues. So you'll be able to get this big view of the network, wired and Wi-Fi, and immediately see where we've detected any problems, right? It could be an AP changing channels, could be high retries on a client, you name it. Wirelines not left out. Click on the switch, see the table, slots, ports, all the things we've historically done. Edge controls, nothing, or show me the channel numbers. This is my actual router, and I can immediately see who's connected on channel 7, who's in the 2.4 gig band, who's in the 5 gig band. So just a lot of capability there, and really, one thing that's pretty amazing about the cloud and being browser based is we're not an app. I believe right now, you run these apps, you can't put them on multiple monitors, right? There's only one instance of the app running. Well, you can basically open as many tabs or instances of your browser as you want and put them on as many screens as you want. So at the same time, you can be looking at a heat map, the analysis, the topology, keep some big picture view in sight. So this unlimited visibility, right? This is all unlicensed, and even if you share, it's available to those that you share to. So quickly on the collectors, I talked about we're going to source projects out of Link Live survey, of course active and iPerf survey, right? We only have passive now. More work on sampling. This got alluded to a lot, right? Where's CBRS? Where's all these other things, right? What I can tell you is in our short view is two things are at the top of the list. Bluetooth, right? We have a Bluetooth radio. We're walking around. Why shouldn't we be getting the Bluetooth beacons and adding them into Airwise just like we do the BSSIDs? One-by-one client experience. Get this a lot. Yeah, but we're running around with scanner guns doing inventory, and they're running one-by-ones, right? Especially with IoT, you're getting more of this. So adding the ability to, at the same time you're doing the survey, gather as much as possible. Do we want to get to CBRS? Do we want to get to other technologies? Yes. The faster path to us is probably, through the USB, using USB as an external radio. But so that's the collector plan. And really, so this is the summary slide, right? So here's our intention, right? I'm just going to be transparent about this, right? We believe that any RF engineer anywhere ought to be able to remotely enable a survey at another location. We believe anybody should be able to do that survey. We believe that when they're doing that survey, unbeknownst to them, because they're just dropping pins, we should be gathering as much information as we can. Spectral, Bluetooth, other bands, other frequencies, other things we're seeing, cellular. We believe that we should provide simplicity so that everybody can understand how well they're doing relative to best practices. And we believe we should provide multiple views into the site, same time. In fact, I didn't mention this topology collection is going on at the same time that the survey is going on. So it's just all this comes for free. The Wi-Fi analysis, the topology, and the actual survey is happening at the same time on the collector and available in Link Live. And then lastly, we believe that you should have unencumbered collaboration. The precursor to sharing something you're seeing with a peer or an owner shouldn't require them licensing a piece of software, right? So that's what we're about. That's where we're going. That's the direction you're going to see us go.